It's time to get sexy on Secular Sexuality.
Hello, and welcome to Secular Sexuality. I'll be your host tonight, Christy Powell. Joining me today is going to be some very funny ladies. We have the ACA's newest friend, blogger and activist, Viva la Bianca, as well as a friend of the show, area comic and meme queen, Lana Del Cray.
Hey.
Howdy, how are y'all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Great, glad to hear it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank everybody out there for joining us tonight. I want to let you know right here at the top that we're going to be talking about women in comedy, about the gendered expectations and sort of the women aren't funny meme that has been prevalent in our culture for so long. And we would love to hear from you. Love to hear about the women that have been important in your life, your diet of TVs, of sitcoms, of stand-up, of everything along those lines. We're going to be here at 512-686-0279. That number again is 512-686-0279. We've got a few slots already available, and we'd love to hear from you. So with that, I'd like to just kind of touch base a little bit, and before we, dive into talking about Lana and her experience as a comedian, as a comedian, I'd like to even address, why is there even a different word for lady comics?
I don't know. I think, it probably, just back in the day, someone was like, you gotta have different gendered words for stuff.
Yeah.
I wish I could say there was, some sort of fancy French definition or something.
It actually relates to the original Greek. On this particular week, when we're talking about the U.S. national team versus the U.S. women's national team and all of the kind of bullshit and second-class citizenry, or maybe the asterisk that we tend to put on things, rather than having a men's and a women's, we have the default and then the alternate, and that's such a big piece of our culture, without even talking about all of the long history of, a woman can be funny when she's reacting to a man, but who would want to watch a scene with two women? Who would want to watch a female comic? Who would want to see, there are obviously some poster childs and some exceptions going back throughout the years, and I don't want to diminish the accomplishments of a Lucille Ball or Ellen DeGeneres or however far back we want to go. But at the same time, there's always been a very limited, appetite in our society for that sort of thing. And I struggle to wrap my mind around it, because I know that I am not the funniest person who's been in this studio. I, every Monday morning, go back and rewatch myself and think, oh my God, you are not that funny. Why can't we get more Serafina in here? Why can't we get, more of these wonderful comics and these incredibly funny ladies in here doing this job, because they're clearly better at it than I am. So now that I've mansplained our culture to you and told all these jokes about how not funny men are, I guess I'd just love to hear what it was like growing up as funny ladies, as people, as human beings in a society where humor is not really prized, I guess, in your gender?
Yeah. Oh, me. No, I was gonna say, growing up, I definitely, I don't know, I was always that weird kid that got made fun of a lot, and was definitely the butt of the joke most of the time.
Yes,
I would say
the hero comedian's journey.
Yeah. One day I'll die a villain, but it was definitely it wasn't until high school and then graduating and moving to Austin that I really started having people around me who really encouraged me and were hey, you're actually seriously funny, even if because you eventually you just start using humor as a coping mechanism and stuff. Mm-hmm. But right. Once people are oh wow, you're really good, you gotta change your whole angle. And it's Yeah, no. So, and I didn't even really like think about pursuing stand-up comedy until like I met other comedians, and ironically, they were dudes, but like they're like my comedian big brothers. But yeah, no. Just one night I was like at an open mic, and they were like, just go up and do it.
Just do it.
It was my first, the first joke I ever did. It was the open mic at Spider House, and I was like going through a really rough time, and like a couple months earlier, I like had a stupid Tinder date and I like threw up on him, and so I just told that story, and like everyone loved it, and I was like, okay, maybe like I can turn all these terrible events into funny stories. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you say ironically, and I think that makes a certain kind of sense, but it also seems somewhat inevitable that the people who are already part of the comedy world were dudes, and that the people who, I don't want to say gave you access, but that were maybe encouraging you to get up there were men or people who were there themselves.
Yeah.
And it's pretty overwhelmingly male-dominated. Is that your experience?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially like most of the open mics, like at least it's starting to change a lot now, but like what was it, 3 years ago when I first started, it was like all dudes hosting open mics, and it's always like at some sketchy bar or something, and so it's like late at night. So it's like it's definitely intimidating the first couple times like as a woman, but if you like stick it out, it's definitely really fun, and you meet a lot of like other women, and luckily like in Austin we're so lucky that there's so many talented female comedians and really pushing for our own shows and stuff. So there's definitely been a big turn recently, but yeah, it's still heavily like male dominated, especially in like the open mic stand-up scene.
I've got a question, and this is not to assume that you bomb ever, but have you found either with yourself or watching other comedians that there's a difference in reception when maybe a set isn't going so well? Like, is there more tolerance for one gender or another as they're up there and being like, oh no, I forgot the joke.
Poor guy's trying so hard, but like,
No,
get that woman off the stage!
No, bombing's bombing. Even like the dudes, like no, we'll boo the dudes too. Like it's no. There's a lot of like definitely like unfunny men. Like I'd say like for every like one dude that's trying, there's and like genuinely funny, there's like 10 dudes who are very unfunny. And I think that's another reason it can feel especially like oversaturated, especially in the open mic scene, is because like it's open and anyone can go. So like with booked shows that you're going out and doing, like it's definitely, I think, would be different like if you were booked on a show and you started bombing, but like you probably wouldn't get booked on that show again. But no, it's definitely like it's I don't think the reception's that different. I think like if you're not funny, you're not funny, and people aren't gonna like you. But like I think definitely like being funny is where the big difference is.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because like if like a lot of times dudes will do like let me like do a joke about how I can't get laid, and like people will still laugh. And it's like, okay, they're not bombing, but it's not necessarily original.
Right, it's rehashed material. I mean,
exactly.
Jerry Seinfeld did that to death 30 years ago.
Exactly. So it's like they might like still, you know, like get like a laugh here and there. And I think it's if like a woman like was just like, oh, I can't get laid, like it probably wouldn't get received as well. But like when you kill it though, like it should be like it feels the same though. Like just like everyone's like laughing, and it's a great feeling.
So the highs are the same highs, male or female.
Yeah.
The lows are kind of the same lows, male or female.
Yeah, it's
but
just
that
like,
middle, that mediocrity that, you know, we all strive to transcend, but in reality, many of us find ourselves living there.
Yeah, and I think that's where you can like really tell the difference is like what level of mediocrity people are like willing to tolerate from people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that I know at least as a woman, like you're kind of trained to laugh at guys' jokes. Like that's considered polite. It's like, oh, he's making a joke. I must laugh at this, even if you don't find it funny. Like, is that? I
mean, it's definitely true. Like in one-on-one scenarios, I don't think I've ever felt obligated to laugh at a dude's joke.
Really?
I have to say, it's delightful when it happens. There have been moments where I have sat down and just felt like, you are crushing this date, man. You are just nailing it. And then I get a little bit of hindsight and I'm like, oh, that wasn't funny at all.
Yeah, no, it definitely, like, I felt, like, obligated, like, scenarios like that where it's, like, one-on-one or, like, in a group of friends and you're just like, oh, I don't want you to feel awkward. But, like, I don't, like, if I'm in an open mic, like, I'm not just gonna laugh at it, dude. I don't know. Like, that's me. I don't know if, like, I'm probably, like, a bad person to ask that. 'Cause
I've got just terrible secondhand embarrassment. So I'm like, oh, one person has to laugh. I guess I'll, like,
I'll take this
woman
one
up
for
and
the
be
team.
this one.
Yeah, like an awkward, nervous laugh. I mean, there's been some like awkward. So I host an open mic, which is rough sometimes. But like, so you see a lot of dudes who just aren't that great, and so sometimes I do just have like an awkward, like nervous, like laugh, like, because I'm just like, oh my god, is this over? Because it's 10-minute sets, and like for a lot of beginners that's like hard if you don't have like a full 10 minutes, and it's it's not easy, and there have been some huge awkward moments, especially like if it's like they try to do crowd banter and they're like, because then they like try to like
And
talk
it's
to,
a
like
dead room.
yeah, and like because the people at the bar, they're just there drinking, like they don't want this like,
Don't talk to me, man. What are you doing?
amateur comedian trying to like roast them. And so like I'll try to like, but like I feel like I do it in a way that it's super obvious that it's a nervous laugh and they should cut it out, but I don't know, it's probably too late. Sorry.
When somebody's committed to failing, like
Yeah.
it's just gonna happen.
Yeah, no, and like and there's like definitely like a certain level of like I admire people who can just do that, like, and just keep going and not have anxiety about it, because like I know like there have been times where I like start bombing, and if it's like a longer open mic, then I'll just like I'll take the L and like I'm like, okay, this is an off night, I need to go home. Yeah.
Well, so it sounds like the audience more or less generally treats people with something resembling a meritocracy. I don't mean to like overhedge, but overall, if you get up and you're killing it, you're doing what you need to do, it's working. People are buying it. What about behind stage? I mean, what about booking? What about, in terms of just getting notoriety or getting accepted?
Yeah, so that's definitely where the huge difference is. There was recently like a conversation in like an Austin comedy group about like trying to see more women come out, and this one chick was like, oh, well, I really like to see like women going out, and you should be hitting open mics like 5 nights a week and like really pushing and like doing as many sets as you can to get your name out there. And it's hard when you have like a full-time job and a family.
Right.
And something someone brought up that I thought was really important is the like whole burden of the household thing. And a lot of times like women do have to manage a household and stuff, and you might not necessarily be able to go out as much. And I know like a lot of people's like argument to that is like, oh, well, if you really want something, you like work for it and stuff. And it's like, that's not always possible. And it's like, it would be nice to see like people not care about like how many mics you're going to or how many shows you're doing, but like the quality over quantity. And at least for me, like that's where I feel like I shine the most, because it's like I've never been able to just like go out like consecutive nights in a row and like stay out at open mics and like mingle and schmooze with all these dudes and stuff, and it's like that's never gonna be me. But like I know that like when I like write something and like I'll try it out at my own open mic, and I'll like do 1 or 2 like mics when I have time, but like if someone books me for a show, like I'm ready and I can do it, yeah.
And it's also the perception. Even if you don't have like a household to manage, when a guy goes out 5 nights a week to do comedy or pursue whatever, it's like, oh, look how committed he is to this. Like, like
You gotta follow your
applaud
passion.
him. Right.
Yeah.
And then more often than not, especially like with women who maybe are not like college age, or like you assume they have other responsibilities that are like supposed to be taking precedence. It's like, well, why are you here and not there?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, why are you like out drinking 5 nights a week and stuff? And it's like,
Right, exactly.
I'm not out at the bar drinking, I'm doing comedy.
Right.
It's like, yeah, so it's definitely, it's a weird perception, because again, most people assume like, oh, like women like have their shit together and are more mature and stuff. And I mean, like, yeah, but like not really. really not, it doesn't correlate with like the comedy stuff. But yeah, no, I definitely like, I don't know how to like describe it. It's like, it's weird, like the judgment that you get sometimes from it. And also like, I guess like professionalism's like a big thing too, because it's like dudes, like because they can like there's not that like level of like maturity and professionalism like required from them a lot of the times. It's like, oh, they can just like go up on stage, like do whatever, go to like another open mic, party, and then like just go back the next day. And like, I don't know, there's a lot of like dude comedians that are like, they still like work in like food service and stuff, and it's like, cool, I guess that's your hustle, but like, I don't know, like have some other priorities and shit too.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's more about even like the presentation of it. Like a guy can come out and be like rumpled, like he just like walked out of his car or whatever, and that's like part of the look, you know?
Yeah.
But then you
like
see some of these female comedians and you're like, oh, she has to be like this particular body type and like super dressed up and have her makeup done and then talk about all the things she did before she got here. And it's just, there's a higher, I feel like, standard in terms of presentation that happens.
Yeah, and like that's not just in comedy. It's like, I feel like a lot, like even in like gosh, it's like weird I like brought this up like last time I was on here, but like in the kink community too, like a lot of dudes will just like show up and like pants and a t-shirt, and it's like, oh, I like put all this effort in, I like did my hair and
Women tend to be
makeup.
expected to be in costume or, you know, doing something just more elaborate.
And it's a lot of effort and it's exhausting, but like it's worth it. Like definitely, like I'm never gonna like go out and not do that. I just I wish there was like that same standard for men. And I guess that's what it really comes down to, is there's just like this higher standard of what a woman like should be, whereas like any dude can just like roll in and do whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to overstress the importance of conventional attractiveness, but I think that if we take the top 10 female comics and the top 10 male comics and put them through the like hot or not algorithm, you know, there are not a whole lot of people swiping right pre or post controversy on Louis C.K., you know, whereas, you know, Katharine Hepburn and like these different folks have this very different angle that they're coming at it from.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. I was last night I was like sitting there like watching those GQ videos, like the anatomy of a scene where like they have the actors like break down their different roles. And like I was watching the Seth Rogen one, and like I've never seen Knocked Up before, and so I didn't like know it was a thing he was in, but like just
but
like
doesn't
seeing
it,
him
even though you
next
haven't
to...
seen it, don't you kind of feel like you have?
Yeah, no, like listening to him explain it, and like I get it, it's like a generic like romance comedy, but like I was just like, damn, like we really like we're supposed to believe that like Seth Rogen and the chick from Grey's Anatomy like had a baby, like I don't know. And it's like, again, like I don't want to like sound like conventional attractiveness, like I'm not picky, like I don't know. Like, my friends will definitely tell you that I have terrible taste in men, but I don't know. Seth Rogen just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that at all.
Yeah, I generally go ahead and agree on that. I don't really know how we got here, but I think we can go ahead and say that consensus is that Seth Rogen, not the most attractive comic in Hollywood?
No.
Yeah?
Possibly.
Okay, all right.
Possibly.
Yeah, I would like to remind the audience that these views do not represent the official positions or statements of the Atheist Community of Austin or the Atheist Experience Network. However, not the best looking person. Okay.